I will now call to order the City County Council meeting for Monday, December 18th, 2017. Before we do the prayer and pledge of allegiance, I'm going to take a moment of privilege and allow Councilman Quillen to make a statement.
Thank you, Madam President. May we please observe a moment of silence in memory of those lives lost in 2017 due to violent crime. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Quillen. The first item on our agenda is the prayer and pledge of allegiance led by Councilor Johnson.
Thank you, Madam President. It's my great pleasure tonight to introduce my friend Aaron Story, the pastor of Indy Metro Church, which is actually a downtown church, so I'm kind of cheating tonight and stealing one. But Aaron is here not tonight just because of his exemplary ministry in the community and his leadership as a thought leader, but he is also in my district one of the people that holds me most accountable, and I'm always grateful for that. And he always does it in nice ways. So I'm very, very glad to have him tonight. So please help me welcome Aaron Story.
First, a spirit of gratitude and thank you, Council, for the ways you serve, from our family, our church, our city. Obviously, thousands and thousands of people are blessed by your leadership in all kinds of ways. You're here tonight, they're at home. So thank you. First, before I pray, I want to share a passage, Jeremiah 29:7, that really led me to the city about 12 years ago, and I think will resonate well with all of you as we pray. Jeremiah says, "Seek the peace and prosperity of the city to which I have carried you into. Pray to the Lord for it, because if it prospers, you too will prosper." And that is our prayer. As our city prospers, we prosper. So let's pray together. Lord, we come before you as our prayer tonight to seek the peace and prosperity of our city. Lord, I know in every hall, in every school, in every building, Lord, where truth is honored, where wisdom is sought, you are present. And God, so we thank you. This is a place that desires wisdom beyond their training, Lord, truth beyond understanding. So we pray for that tonight. Father, in the Advent season, we know Advent means waiting. Lord, we are anticipating, waiting for things yet to come. And so, Father, some of us might be waiting for vacations. Some of us might be waiting for what Santa might bring. But, Lord, many in our city wait for so much more. God, we wait in our city. Many wait for justice and for peace. And kids wait to be adopted. And families wait for their children to come home. Father, people staying at Wheeler tonight wait for a warm meal. Lord, some children in our city on break wait for their next meal. Father God, many we think of the passage of Isaiah, Lord, the Lord wrote, to loosen the chains of injustice, to untie the cords of the yoke, to set the oppressed free, to break every yoke, to share our food with the hungry, to provide the poor wanderer with shelter, to clothe the naked, and to turn no one away that's our flesh and blood. And so I pray tonight for wisdom to be sought, for truth to be gained. Lord, for all those that are waiting in the leadership of this room tonight, Lord of counselors, to be able to provide our city well with what we need, Lord, ultimately from your mighty hand. And may you receive all the glory. We praise in the name above all names, the name of Jesus. Amen. Amen. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would all councilors select the green button to indicate your attendance? Councilor Clay, Councilor Oliver. Thank you. There are 25 members present this evening. The next item on our agenda is introduction of guests and visitors. Councilor Coates.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to welcome a constituent of mine. He also serves as chairman of the Telecom and Video Services Board. Please welcome Chris Smith.
Councilor McHenry.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to recognize Dr. Jeff Butts, our superintendent of Wayne Township Schools, who's here this evening. So, Dr. Butts, if you'd stand and be recognized. And also, I'd like to recognize Gary and Alice Poteet, a couple of very good friends of mine on the west side out in Wayne Township, but also they're here to support their grandson, who's being recognized as one of the Ben Davis football players. So Gary and Alice.
President.
Counselor Gray.
Yes, I'd like to recognize my friend, Mr. Jimmy Beard. He's a part of the Beard Winston team that's delivering high levels of MBE participation at the Washington Township level, and he kind of setting the tone for what we need to be doing here at this city. Mr. Jimmy Beard.
Counselor Evans.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to recognize the principal of Mighty Ben Davis High School, Ms. Sandra Squire, if you please stand.
Counselor Feaster.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to welcome the football team from Ben Davis. Go Giants! And would also like to recognize the pastors that came this evening for our prayer caucus. And I am neglectful in remembering Pam's last name. I apologize, Pam, but Pastor Lindsay also came for prayer caucus before council tonight. So thank you so much for your service.
Additional introductions? Counselor Johnson.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to take a moment to recognize Mr. Mario Rodriguez, who leads the award-winning Best in the Country, my favorite airport to fly through, Indianapolis International Airport.
Additional introductions? The next item on our agenda is the official communications. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Madam President. Ladies and gentlemen, you are hereby notified that regular meetings of the City County Council and Police, Fire, and Solid Waste Collection Special Service District Councils will be held in the City County Building in the council chambers on Monday, December 18 at 7 p.m. The purposes of such meetings being to conduct any and all business that may properly come before regular meetings of the councils. Respectfully, Maggie A. Lewis, President, City County Council. Ladies and gentlemen, pursuant to the laws of the state of Indiana, I caused to be published in the Court and Commercial Record and in the Indianapolis Star on Wednesday, December 6, 2017, a copy of a notice of public hearing on proposal numbers 357 and 384, 2017. Said hearing to be held on Monday, December 18th at 7 p.m. in the Public Assembly Room of the City County Building. Respectfully, Natrina DeBow, Clerk of the City County Council. Ladies and gentlemen, I have approved with my signature and delivered this day to the Clerk of the City County Council, Natrina DeBow, the following ordinances. Fiscal ordinance numbers 39, 40, 44, 45, and 47. General ordinance numbers 64 through 73. Special ordinance number 9. General resolution numbers 17 through 27, and special resolution numbers 41 through 43. Joseph H. Hogsett, Mayor. Madam President, this concludes the official communications.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The next item on our agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Do I have consent?
Madam President.
The next item on the agenda, I'm sorry, Counselor Clay.
Madam President, with your permission and notice, I'd like to, as sponsor of proposal number 384, officially withdraw that proposal for the record.
Thank you. Mr. Biesecker, is that? All right, thank you. Thank you, Counselor Clay. The next item on our agenda is approval of the journals for December 4, 2017. Do I have consent? Consent. We'll now proceed to presentations of petitions, memorials, special resolutions, and council resolutions. Proposal 419, introduced by Councilors Evans, McHenry, Feaster, and Lewis.
Thank you. Coaches, team, if you guys would join us up here. Madam President, as the team draws near us, I'd like to, just for 1 second, speak. Back in 2000, I lost my very first football game after going undefeated for like 3 or 4 years. That team that beat us that night was Carmel High School. And the song that they were playing in the stands was that dog song. You remember, Coach. Coach Kirshner was also my defensive coordinator. So something just great happened the last couple of years. One, Ben Davis High School, Tim Moriarty, I hope you're listening, defeated Carmel High School in the state championship back in 2014. And then most recently, when they played Carmel this season, Carmel racked up an astounding 190 yards, 98 yards. Ben Davis had over 500 yards and went on to defeat them. Tim, please don't cry too much tonight. Love you, buddy. Counselors, it's my distinct honor to present this tonight. I'm very excited. Heart's even beating. I'm very proud of this team, this school, and this football program. A special resolution recognizing the Ben Davis High School Giants football team for their 2017 Indiana High School Athletic Association 6A state championship win. Whereas the Ben Davis Giants won the 2017 IHSAA 6A state championship game on November 25th, 2017 by defeating Mishawaka Penn by a score of 63-14, capping off a 14-0 season. And whereas the Giants averaged 86.2 points per game, 46.2 points per game. The Giants played 2 close games in the tournament, which led to sectional wins over Lawrence Central, 33-20, and Warren Central, Counselor Cordy, 36-29, and steamrolling Fishers, 50-7, and Avon High School, 57-20. And whereas
the Giants have an impressive team record of most points, 63, most combined points, 77, most passes completed, 20, most passing yards, 365, most passing touchdowns, 6, and the highest punting average of 45.5, just to name a few, and whereas their individual records are just as impressive. Most pat kicks, PAT, what's PAT?
point after touchdown.
Thank you. I don't like acronyms. 6 by Isaac Thomas, longest touchdown run, 76, most passing yards, 340, and most passing touchdowns, 6 by Reese Taylor, most receiving yards, 109, and most touchdown receptions, 3 by Brock Thompson, highest punting average, 45.5 by Therese Nibbs, and longest punt return by Keiston Tunstall. And whereas the Giants were the sectional, regional, and semi-state champions 2014 to 2017, the MIC conference champs in 2017, and state champs in 2014 and 17, and
And I'm going to pause a moment to say, I listened to that championship game from San Antonio, and the rest of the patrons in the restaurant thought I was absolutely out of my mind with all the yelling and screaming that was going on. So let me explain why. Whereas the Giants are led by head coach Mike Kirshner, who is a 1979 graduate from Warren Central High School, where he was a 2-year letterman in football. Coach Kirshner does not just coach the Giants, he's a mentor and friend. He's supported by assistant coaches Mark Zachary, Justin Ferris, Dan Schwanekamp, Chuck Schwanekamp, I wonder if they're related, just kidding, Terry Siddell, Dustin Stewart, Brett Waller, Brian Abbey, Brandon Johnson, and Jay Douglas. And whereas not only are the young men great at playing football and setting team and individual records, 2 seniors on the team also stand out academically as well. And that really comes to my heart. Tommy McDonald, who is the 2017 Phil Eskew Mental Attitude State Champion Award winner, ranks #1 out of 1,044 students holding a GPA of 5.1096. 5.1096. He is the school's valedictorian who wants to be an engineer. And Owen Price, who ranks number 2. They're both on the football team. Ranks number 2 out of 1,044 students, holding a GPA of 5.0942. Very, very close to each other, and is the school salutatorian and also wants to be an engineer. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City County Council of the City of Indianapolis and of Marion County, Indiana, Section 1, the City County Council proudly recognizes Ben Davis High School Giants football team for winning the 2000 IHSAA 6A State Championship.
Section 2, the council extends its congratulations to the entire team, coaching staff, and school administration on their achievement and wishes each player great success in their future endeavors, but athletically and academically. Section 3, the mayor is invited to join in this resolution by affixing his signature here too. In Section 4, this resolution shall be in full force and effect upon adoption and compliance with IC 36-3-4-14. This special resolution was sponsored by Councilor Evans, McHenry, Councilor Feaster, and Lewis, and was passed by the City County Council this 18th day of December 17th. I'm going to
I so
invite
move.
Coach Kirshner in just a moment to say
I
a
so
few
move.
words. Oh, and I so move, Madam President.
The motion's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. The motion carries. Back to the speakers.
Thank you, Madam President. As you can tell, I'm pretty excited about this. I'm also a little concerned that I didn't hear Tim Moriarty second this, by the way. But I'm going to invite Coach Kirshner, head coach Mike Kirshner, to speak in just a moment. Coach Kirshner was a defensive line coach when I played for Ben Davis High School football. The excitement I have for this team is just as much for Coach Kirshner. I love that man. I think he knows it, but just in case he's never heard me say it, because oftentimes he did yell at me, I appreciate what he has done for myself, our team, our school, our community. He embodies everything that we need to have in our communities. He's not a man of show. He's a man of work ethic and word. He gets things done. He cares. As a player, I was not one to care about being yelled at. Matter of fact, it almost shut me down when you yelled. Coach Mike Kirshner was the only coach in my playing days who ever could yell at me. And that's because I saw through it and I knew he cared. It wasn't about winning. It was about making me a better player and a better person. So with that said, I'd like to invite Coach Kirshner to say a few words. Thank you.
Before you do. Before you come up here, I also want to recognize the fact that Coach Kirshner has been named as the Indianapolis Colts Indiana Football Coach of the Year and is a finalist for both the NFL High School Coach of the Year and the 2018 Army Bowl Coach of the Year. So the awards keep going on and on for this team and for our coach. And as a former Ben Davis Giant, I'd like to invite you now to.
Thank you. Thank you. Before I say a few things, I'm going to let a couple of the players come up and say a couple things. And the first one we'll start with is what will be our valedictorian. I'd like Tommy McDonald, who wants to study to be an engineer. I want him to come up and say a few words and thanks. And did you actually type it out?
Yes, I did.
I'm impressed.
Hello. First, I just want to thank everyone for inviting us out tonight and honoring us in all our accomplishments. This season was one of the best that I have ever personally experienced throughout my football career. I think that we all have learned a lot about ourselves. We learned that when given a big challenge, we can rise above it and overcome it. We had to overcome the adversity of losing teammates due to unforeseen circumstances such as Rhonda Allen, Aaron Granados, and Nick Brown. We learned that what brotherhood and teamwork truly means. Most of us have grown up playing football together, and to win a state championship with each other is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. With the teamwork and unity we had, without the teamwork and unity we had, we would never have been able to accomplish as much as we have. I'm very proud to say that I was part of this amazing team, and I'm also very proud to be able to call myself a Ben Davis Giant and a teammate of all these great players behind me. Again, thank you for having us out tonight.
Now I'm going to bring up one from the defensive side. I'm going to have Jonte Dobson come up and say a few things, and then I'll finish up.
First off, I would like to thank you all for having us. It's an honor to be here. This season was amazing and a blessing to play with this great group of young men that I call brothers. We worked hard in the off season and it paid off. We've dreamed about this ever since we were young, and it's a dream to come true. I'm blessed to be a part of this journey.
I'm not a microphone person, I'm sorry. Speak with my hands, I do a lot of public speaking.
Sir,
First of all,
Coach.
I want to thank you.
But for the television, we probably do need you. Sorry, I understand. But we want the
killing me.
viewers at
All
home
right.
to hear everything you
This is
say.
going to be tough. All right. First of all, understand I only brought about 40 of the 200 players. There's about 160 at home. We have literally one of the largest programs, if not the largest program in the state of Indiana. We've got kids here. Reese Taylor over there with the little red bow tie. He was Mr. Football as the quarterback. Keyshawn Tunstall. Sir Zion Dance, Brock Thompson. I can go down the list. You know, Garrison Poteet, Brent Harris. We have an amazing group of people, all right? And I'm going to get away from the football part because, honestly, it stopped being about football for me about 6-7 years ago. And my administration, Dr. Butts, Mr. Clark, Ms. McGowan, they've heard me talk about this many times. There's a young man standing here behind me somewhere, all right? You talked about the violence. You talked, that's all I talk about. On July, help me out, Keelan, July 30th? July 30th on a Sunday night, 11:30, our starting corner, 2-year starter, come here, young man, come here. This young man started for me for 2 years. This was going to be his big year. He was going to make it, all right? Good things were going to happen on that field. And on July 30th, on a Sunday night, 11:30, he's out driving with a cousin of his and his little brother in the back seat when a car pulls up alongside and the windows come down, they empty an AK-47 and he takes 6 bullets. He takes one here, he takes one here, he takes one, takes his finger off, one in the bicep, one in the knee, and then in the right leg, it not only goes through his right leg, it ruptures an artery. He's resuscitated 3 times on the table, it ruptures his femur, and he's still in rehab today. This is why I coach, all right? Because if we don't stop the violence in the streets, and we don't put our hands around each and every kid that walks, I don't care what the color is, I don't care what their creed is, I don't care where they come from. If we don't put our hands around them and we don't love them each and every day, then football's really just irrelevant, all right? Now, I'm talking from a guy who, he knows how much I love to win. Winning drives me, man. I love winning, all right? But more importantly, I love people, all right? I love people, all right? And these kids need a chance. So when you're sitting here making rules and policies and things that, think about people. Think how it's going to affect people, not some business, not some corporate tax structure. I don't care. I care about them. And when we think about them, all the other stuff goes away. All right, we were blessed to be in a very fortunate situation with very talented young men who played football at a very high level. But I'm more concerned about what they're going to do after this. Where are they going to go so that they can become the best husbands, the best fathers, and the best people they can become? And when that happens, then it's not about football because we won, because they became the best people. And that's what's really important. You have done an amazing thing honoring us tonight. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule. A little disappointed that you don't all have those Ben Davis t-shirts hanging from the front. Where's the Carmel person, man? That's the one I want to talk to. I want you to wear it at Carmel's next home basketball game. All right? I'm getting the look of death. All right, it's okay. But thank you very much. Please have a wonderful, wonderful Merry Christmas, and may God bless you. Thank you.
Madam President.
Susie Cordy. I just want to thank Warren Central for our coach.
Jared.
The next item on our agenda,
And then pins to as many as we can get.
We want to try to get a picture up front.
The next item on our agenda is proposal number 347, refer to Metropolitan and Economic Development Committee. Chairman Osili.
Thank you, Madam President. Proposal number 347. Proposal number 347 reappoints Brian Barton to the Property Tax Assessment Board of Appeals. Mr. Barton stated he's a married, lifelong resident of Marion County with 2 adult children. He spent 22 years in local government and has enjoyed being on the Property Tax Assessment Board of Appeals for the last 5 years. He was thanked for his work on the board. Councilor Adamson moved, seconded by Councilor Robinson, to send Proposal 347 to the full council with a due pass recommendation. That motion carried by a vote of 7-0. Madam President, I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the board for our vote. The proposal carries 22-0. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 349, refer to Metropolitan and Economic Development Committee. Chairman Osili.
Thank you, Madam President. Proposal number 349 reappoints Lena Hackett to the Metropolitan Development Commission. Ms. Hackett stated that she has been on the board for 4 years and currently serves as the secretary and is representative to the Platt Committee. She stated that the strength that she brings to the committee is representation for the community and neighborhoods, and that she would like to continue her service. She was thanked for her amazing services in the community, especially regarding reentry. Councilor Adamson moved, seconded by Councilor Evans, to send proposal number 349 to the full council with a due pass recommendation. And that motion carried by a vote of 7-0. And Madam President, I so move.
Second. The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Seeing none, proceed to the board for our vote. The proposal carries 19-3. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 354, refer to Metropolitan and Economic Development Committee. Chairman Osili, and feel free to group some of these if you would like.
Thank you very much. I was going to ask if, with consent, I might group 354 and 355, as they are appointments from Woodruff Place Economic Improvement District. So proposal number 354 reappoints Linda Gilkerson to the Woodruff Place Economic Improvement Board. Ms. Gilkerson stated she's been on the Woodruff Board since it started and has lived in Woodruff Place for 34 years. Proposal number 355 reappoints Charlie Neal to the Woodruff Place Economic Improvement Board. Mr. Neal stated that he has lived in Woodruff Place for 48 years and served on the board for the last term and would like to continue serving. Councilor Adamson, moved by Councilor Robinson, to send both proposals to the full council with a due pass recommendation, and the motion carried by a vote of 7-0. Madam President, I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the board for our vote. The proposal carried 22-0. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 382, refer to Metropolitan and Economic Development Committee. Chairman Osili.
Thank you, Madam President. Proposal number 382 appoints Stacy Hurl to the Animal Services Advisory Board. Ms. Hurl stated that she is with the Marion County Public Health Department and has enjoyed serving on the board. And Councilor Adamson thanked Ms. Hurl for the commitment she has made to the board. Councilor Adamson moved, seconded by Councilor Evans, to send proposal 382 to the full council with a due pass recommendation. And that motion carried by a vote of 7-0. Madam President, I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the board for our vote. The proposal carries 22-0. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 383, referred to Metropolitan and Economic Development Committee. Chairman Osili.
Thank you, Madam President. Proposal number 383 appoints Christian Mossberg to the Animal Services Advisory Board. Mr. Mossberg stated he has been on this board for 7 years, and there have been positive changes made, while there's still much to do. Councilor Evans asked Mr. Mossberg how he feels things are moving, and Mr. Mossberg stated that he feels that the board is moving in a very good direction. Councilor Robinson stated that he had attended a meeting that discussed the possibility of getting a new facility for the animal care. And Councilor Robinson moved, seconded by Councilor Evans, to send Proposal 383 to the full council with a do pass recommendation. And the motion carried by a vote of 7-0. Madam President, I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Councilor McQuillan.
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Chairman, was it asked or did it come up in committee if Mr. Mosberg lives in Marion County?
I do believe that question came up, and yes, the answer was in the affirmative. He lives in Marion County.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Additional comments? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the board for our votes. The proposal carries 22-0. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 363, refer to municipal corporation. Chairman Gray.
Yes, Madam President, I'd like to take 363 and 364 at the same time. Proposal 363 reappoints Joyce Rogers to the Marion County Health and Hospital Corporation. Ms. Rogers was unable to attend the meeting due to the fact that she was traveling and out of the country. But as a committee chair and committee, we usually don't require people to come for reappointments only for the first time. So we kind of granted her a little privilege. But she did, I talked with her and she said that she enjoyed working for the hospital and that she really would like to be reappointed. So the committee voted 6-0 to send it to the full council with a due pass recommendation. Also for proposal 364, at the municipal corporation meeting, we reappointed Greg Dedan to the Indianapolis Public Transportation Corporation. Mr. Dedan is kind of restricted to a wheelchair, and his position is one of those that has to be filled by someone who uses the Indigo public transportation system. And he assured us that he uses the Indigo Transportation Center. And so therefore it was voted in the committee to send it to the full council with a due pass, 6-0, and I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Councilor Jackson.
Thank you, Madam President. Even though Ms. Joyce Rogers was not able to attend committee meeting, we did have her resume. It was a very extensive and inclusive resume, and she does have the skills and experience to continue in the position. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Additional comments? Seeing none, proceed to the board for our votes. The proposals carry 25-0. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 367, refer to Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee. Chairman Robinson.
Thank you, Madam President. With consent, I'd like to take proposal 367, 368 through 381. Proposal 367, 2017, reappoints Brandon Randall to the Juvenile Detention Center Advisory Board. Proposal 368 reappoints Jason Derman to the Citizens Police Complaint Board. Proposal 370 reappoints Bill Morrow to the Reuben Engagement Center Board. Proposal 371 reappoints Linnea Redmond Williams to the Reuben Engagement Center Board. Proposal 378 reappoints Michael Medler to the Domestic Violence Fatality Review Team. Proposal 379 reappoints Jeffrey Catlett to the Early Intervention Planning Council. Proposal 380 reappoints Blake Johnson to the Early Intervention Planning Council. And Proposal 381 reappoints Marilyn Feaster to the Early Intervention Planning Council. Madam President, all of these proposals move out of committee 8-0. I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Seeing none, proceed to the board for our vote. The proposals carry 25-0. The next item on our agenda is introduction of proposals. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Madam President. Proposal number 411, introduced by Councilors Simpson, Gray, and Lewis, referred to the Administration and Finance Committee, authorizes the issuance of notes in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $55 million for the purpose of providing funds to be applied to the cost of site preparation, construction mobilization, and related engineering, planning, design, and consulting in connection with the proposed community justice campus, and appropriating the proceeds thereof, states the council's interest in making a purchase of land, ratifying the appointment of appraisers with respect to the purchase of land, states the need to lease certain property, and waives the application of revised code, chapter 186, with respect to the purchased land and/or leased property. Proposal number 412, introduced by Councilors Clay, Simpson, Oliver, Jackson, and Scales, referred to the Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee, approves an additional appropriation of $300,000 in the 2018 budget of the Office of Public Health and Safety, Consolidated County General Fund, to cover the cost of witness protection. Proposal numbers 413 through 418, all referred to the Public Works Committee. Proposal number 413, introduced by Councilor Adamson, authorizes intersection controls at Spring and Walnut Streets in District 17. Proposal number 414, introduced by Councilor Cordy, authorizes weight limit restrictions on Pasadena Street in District 18. Proposal number 415, introduced by Councilor Cordy, authorizes a speed limit reduction to 25 miles per hour on Pasadena Street in District 18. Proposal number 416, introduced by Councilor Johnson, authorizes intersection controls at Julian Avenue and Irvington Avenue in District 12. Proposal number 417, introduced by Councilor Mowry, authorizes intersection controls at Deal Court and Sycamore Run Drive in District 25. Proposal number 418, introduced by Councilor Fanning, authorizes intersection controls at Evanston Avenue and Birch Drive in District 2. Madam President, this concludes the introduction of proposals.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The next item on our agenda is special orders, priority business. Proposal number 410, referred to Metropolitan and Economic Development Committee. Chairman Osili.
Thank you, Madam President. Proposal number 410 approves the issuance of economic development tax increment revenue bonds in an approximate aggregate amount not to exceed $2.665 million for the River House Broad Ripple project in order to provide a portion of the cost of acquisition, construction, equipping, and preservation of a 6-story mixed-use apartment building consisting of 87 apartment units, a rooftop amenity deck, 5,000 square feet of office space, and structured parking located at 6311 Westfield Boulevard in District 2, and other expenses related. This project, as stated, mixed use, 10% of the units will be workforce housing, and by that, they will be set for individuals who are at 80% or less of area median income. The parking garage will hold approximately 100 spaces, actually 98, and the total investment on this project is $18.9 million. This will be a single-site TIF. The requested amount from the increment on this project is $2.665. The TIF assistance will be used for infrastructure investment, for demolition, soil stabilization, site development, utilities, IPL pole removal, rain garden storm system, a riverfront or a Rivera Trail, sidewalks, plaza, street prints, and 50% of the parking garage costs, Monon Trail improvements, pedestrian trail lighting, etc. The 10% of the units, as I stated before, which will be 9 units, will be for affordable housing for 80% median income. And I do believe that we have a new configuration of 4 one-bedroom and 5 efficiency units for that. If that is incorrect, I would ask. Thank you very much. And in closing on this, I would ask for the district councilor who was not present last week to speak on it. Please.
Councilor Fanning.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I was really sad that I was called out of town on work, so I had to miss the committee meeting, but I had written a letter of support. I was going to speak on this project anyway. It's an incredibly important project. Those of you who are familiar with Broad Ripple know we don't often have projects that aren't extremely controversial. This was lucky enough to be one of them. There were no known remonstrators here, but I just have to give a lot of credit to both the administration and the developer. The developer in particular, Todd Morris, worked really hard through 2 years, actually 2.5 years, to really respond to the needs and desires of the community. And he took what, in my opinion, was probably a decent project and made it really outstanding. Those of us who are familiar with Broad Ripple know that Broad Ripple has a lot of infrastructure challenges right now that we're trying to tackle. And while we have lots of infrastructure challenges throughout the city, the intersection that this project addresses at Westfield and Riviera Drive is one of the worst, and it's actually a big public safety concern. The runner's deck, the Monon Trail all converge at this place, and this developer has taken it upon himself with the help of the community to really not only fix that trail, fix the intersection and the trail, but add public lighting. It's going to be much safer, much more traversable, much more user-friendly for all of the people on the north side in what is a very important intersection. So. And he's also pledged double the public art for the project, which, this project kind of exemplifies the direction we want to go as a city. The developer's going above and beyond to make sure that the public good is served. It's a developer-backed bond, and he's actually using a relatively small portion of his own increment. So he'll be leaving the Midtown TIF district even healthier. So we'll be strengthening that as well. So this is just a win-win for everyone. I'd like to thank everyone on the committee for the support of this project, and I would ask all of my fellow councilors to join me in supporting this project.
Chairman Osley.
Yes. So, Madam President, Councilor Robinson moves, seconded by Councilor Ray, to send this proposal number 410, to the full council with a due pass recommendation, and that motion carried by a vote of 5-0. Madam President, I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the board for our vote. The proposal carries 24-1. Proposals number 420 through 422 are all rezoning proposals certified for approval by the Metropolitan Development Commission on December 8, 2017. If no councilors wishes to call down those proposals for reconsideration, they will pass into law. Does anyone wish to call down any of those proposals? Seeing none, they will pass into law. Proposal number 423 is a rezoning proposal certified for denial by the Metropolitan Development Commission on December 8, 2017. If no councilors wishes to call down that proposal, the consideration will stand. Does anyone wish to call down the proposal for reconsideration? Seeing none, the denial will stand. We'll now proceed to special orders public hearing. Proposal number 357, referred to Metropolitan and Economic Development Committee. Chairman Osley.
Thank you, Madam President. Proposal 357 approves the 2018 budget of the Woodruff Place Economic Improvement District. Will Pritchard, the chair of the Economic Improvement District Board of Directors, stated that the budget is unchanged from the prior year. They have made unprecedented levels of improvements in the neighborhoods, and they have raised 3 times more than what the neighborhood has usually raised. Councilor Adamson moves, seconded by Councilor Kreider, to send proposal 357 to the full council with a due pass recommendation, and that vote carried by a vote of 7-0. Madam President, I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to proposal number 357? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the board for our vote. The proposal carries 25-0. There is no business under special orders, unfinished business. We'll proceed to special orders, final adoption. Proposal number 297, referred to Metropolitan and Economic Development Committee. Chairman Osley.
Thank you, Madam President. Proposal 297 amends the code to establish by ordinance the manner and form in which the county recorder may provide bulk form copies to bulk users. Chris Becker, who is the Chief Deputy from the Recorder's Office, provided us a few key points. This was generated from the Senate Enrolled Act 505, passed by the Indiana General Assembly, providing change fees for the Recorder's Office and also added provisions for providing bulk form copies. Indiana Code 36-2-7-10 now requires an ordinance establishing the manner in which the recorder may provide bulk form copies. Copy fees are 10 cents per image, unless the cost to provide copies, unfortunately, has to be greater, but not to exceed 20 cents per image. So the typical cost will be 10 cents per image. The service provider that is contracted with the recorder's office will take 3 cents of that per image, and the recorder's office will receive 7 cents of that, 10 cents per image. Councilor Adamson moves, seconded by Councilor Evans, to send Proposal 297 to the full council with a due pass recommendation, and that motion carried by a vote of 7-0. Madam President, I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Vice President Adamson.
Thank you, Madam President. Is there anyone that can speak to this proposal? I remember hearing during the testimony that there was a portion of these fees that would actually go toward homelessness intervention. Does anybody recall that?
Mr. Chairman?
Unfortunately, I don't see anyone here from the recorder's office.
Mr. Brown?
Thank you, Madam President. There was a recorder proposal that we passed earlier that state law changed, and now fees go into our, it's the Housing Trust Fund, and that would go towards some of the homeless initiatives of the city.
Additional comments? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the board for our vote. The proposal carries 25-0. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 344, refer to Metropolitan and Economic Development Committee. Chairman Osley.
If you don't mind, I would like, Madam President, if we might have someone from the city just to come forward with a brief synopsis of this particular proposal.
Do you want to read your minutes first, or do you want them to do that and then you make your motion?
Yes, I would like it if they could just provide a little bit of background, and I think that would be helpful. Thank you.
Proceed. Please state your name and your position.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Thomas Cook. I'm Mayor Joe Hogsett's Chief of Staff, and I'm joined this evening by Sarah Reardon, who is the Director and General Counsel of the Bond Bank. I appreciate the opportunity, Mr. Chairman, to give you a brief summary on this matter this evening. As many of you are aware, in 2011, the city entered into a purchase agreement for what is called the Bank One Garage at the corner of Market in New Jersey. That financing arrangement from 2011 produced a balloon payment that the city would be obligated to pay in January of 2018 that right now would be in the region of $16 million. When our administration came into office in January of last year, we became aware of this situation, which many had been aware of for some time. And as the fiscal body is well aware, we don't find ourselves at the moment blessed with $16 million in cash laying around. And so Mayor Hogsett directed Director Reardon and the bond bank staff to assist us with refinancing this garage in order to secure a better interest rate for the taxpayers and to avoid the lump sum payment that we found ourselves not able to pay. The Metropolitan Development Commission has passed a resolution allowing for the refinancing, and that resolution empowered the city to utilize all legal sources of revenue. At committee, Director Reardon and myself articulated to the committee the deal structure that the city is intending to enter into with Regions Bank as it relates to this deal. That deal structure will not only allow us to achieve a lower interest rate, but also thanks to the leadership here in the council, specifically of the chairman, we've been able to identify some financing techniques that will allow city-county agencies that currently have to pay in order to park in our own garage to no longer have to pay for those parking spots. The revenue that would have otherwise been paid for by city-county agencies through their Character 3 will be paid for by TIF revenues from the downtown TIF to the tune of somewhere in the region of $800,000 to $900,000. We heard in committee significant interest from at least the Metropolitan Economic Development Committee leadership at exploring with the council sometime in January, bringing a fiscal ordinance that would reappropriate those dollars. We heard a lot of really good ideas in committee about some programming that may be able to benefit from these new operating funds in the 2018 fiscal budget, and we look forward to having those conversations. But if there are any Deal-specific questions, I will likely defer to Director Reardon, but thank you for the opportunity to come and speak to this matter this evening.
Chairman Oakley, thank you.
And thank you, Chief. I do appreciate the background. Madam President and fellow councilors, as the Chief has explained, we were in a particular situation. We think we found a way forward. We do believe it is a good way forward and that benefits the agencies which park inside of the garage. So, Councilor Robinson, after hearing the presentation and asking numerous questions, moved, seconded by Councilor Kreider, to send this proposal to the full council with a do pass recommendation. And this motion carried by a vote of 7-0. Madam President, I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments, questions from councilors? Vice President Adamson.
Thank you, Madam President. I voted for this to move this forward in committee, but under protest. I believe that this is the right thing for the city to do, but I wanted to make sure that I register my official concerns that I believe that this deal was entered into illegally, as it wasn't entered into by the city's fiscal body, which is the city council. But I still think it's the right thing to do, even though I have concerns about that. Thank you.
Councilor Simpson.
Councilor, can I have the bond bank person step up and tell us about how we're handling this? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Councilor Simpson, could you repeat your question? I didn't hear specifically.
The Chief of Staff explained about this financing. Can you give us how this whole arrangement is going to work out?
How it's going to work out?
Yeah.
We have a bill due on January 15th for about $16 million to Regions Bank. And so we've spent the last 18 months or so exploring different ways that we could refinance that debt or pay off that debt, and identifying various revenue sources that we could use to pay down that debt. So we've got about $3 million cash on hand that we can use to just pay it down outright. And then we have identified revenues from the garage itself, TIF revenues, that will be more than sufficient to pay back the loan on the schedule that has been proposed by the bank. We are also asking the council to approve a special benefits tax as a backup for the bonds. But as you'll see in the papers that we've presented, there's no anticipation that we would ever need to trigger that special benefits tax. That's strictly there as a credit enhancement. So right now we're talking about in the very low 4% interest rate that we'll get for a longer-term loan that will mature in 2033. But we have also negotiated minimum prepayment penalties. So if we have a little bit of extra cash in any given year, we can use that to pay down the loan, so we can pay it off more quickly, which is something that our controller is committed to doing. So,
Madam President.
Councilor Simpson.
So it will be paid off in 2033?
If not before.
You'll have gray hair.
I already do, sir.
Councilor Gray.
Director, is that same organization or that same committee that approved these under the previous administration, does it still exist?
Are you speaking of the Circle Area Community Development Corporation, or otherwise known as the CAC?
CAC, yes.
So the role of the CAC currently is they are party to the existing note agreement with the bank. They are a party to that agreement, but we're going to change it and get them out of that deal so that it's just the city and the bank involved going forward.
Okay, I'm not concerned about that. The question is, do they still exist?
Yes, sir, they do.
Are they still making these kind of deals?
No, sir.
What deal will they be making going forward?
Well, going forward, and as has been set forth in the audits that we had conducted for the first time of that organization, really all they've done for the last 18 months is to sort of assess what their holdings are and what their liabilities are outstanding. They own some property, so we need to keep them around, but the new people who are managing the organization are basically taking direction from the administration, and we're getting input from all sources.
So who oversees this committee?
Well,
who are they responsible to?
They are responsible to the city of Indianapolis. They're all the members are appointed by the mayor of Indianapolis. It's a 5-member board.
So whatever they do, the council doesn't have to approve it?
Technically, no, because they are a separate body politic. They're a community development corporation.
Is that what it says on a non-for-profit application?
Well, I believe it does. Until 2016, they were not on file with the State Board of Accounts. Now they are. They had never had a full financial audit. Now they have. So they're as on the books as they need to be. So.
All right.
Vice President Adamson.
Thank you, Madam President. I have two additional questions that have come up since the questioning started. One that comes off of Councilor Gray's question: does the CAC earn revenue from these properties that they own? Are they revenue source for the CAC?
Well, the CAC doesn't own this garage. We own, the City of Indianapolis owns the garage, so the revenues belong to us. The CAC owns a garage on Illinois Street, the Buca de Beppo garage, but those revenues are used to pay debt service on the bonds issued in conjunction with that garage and a lot of other things. Those revenues are pledged for a number of debts. We would be more than happy to come back or meet with any committee of the President's choosing to give you a full rundown on all of the things we've learned about the CAC's holdings and liabilities. We'd be happy to do that, at any time, or answer certainly questions that you might have going forward.
I would be interested in sitting through that committee, but I have one other question, if I could go through. You'd mentioned the special tax. I don't recall hearing that during the committee.
It was set forth in the PowerPoint. It's and I would defer to Bart to explain the fiscal ramifications, but essentially it's really a credit enhancement that we pledge in the event that the revenues that are generated by the garage and the TIF revenues are not sufficient to pay debt service, then the city would be in a position to invoke that special benefits tax, but there is no anticipation, and our financial advisors are here, that we would ever need to trigger that.
So the projection is that we wouldn't need it, but it's there for creditworthiness.
Yes.
Should the revenues ever fall short, does this proposal obligate us to create that tax?
No, sir.
It does not. Okay.
No.
Councilor Mascari, then I'll come back to those who've already spoken. Councilor Mascari.
Thank you, President. Let me get this straight. Okay, we loaned a developer or builder to build this out, correct? $13 million? Or did we actually give him $13 million?
Well, I can only say, based on my interpretation of the legal documents that were executed 7 or so years ago, 6 years ago, but my understanding is that the city purchased the garage from the owner, which included a developer, and the purchase was an installment purchase contract, which was financed by a note with the bank to which the city is a party. And so the sale was commenced, or the sale was completed, and the city has been paying interest on the note, and now the balloon payment is due.
So does the developer have to pay anything back?
Well, the developer has a number of spaces in the garage, 600 or so, and the developer is required to pay for those on an annual basis. So yes, the answer is yes.
Plus, then on top of that, they get a tax abatement on the building,
And
the other building.
Actually, not on the garage itself, because we own that, but on their development, they do have a tax abatement for some of the property, and the amount of their annual abatement is actually converted into essentially a pilot, where they are required to pay the amount of their abated taxes back to us to go towards debt service on the garage.
Thank you.
CFO Brown.
Thank you, Madam President. Just to clarify, and the Chief of Staff said this at the committee meeting, but this was once called the Bank One garage. Bank One had an operations center where the artistry apartments are, and they built that garage for employees. And then part of the economic development, the city agreed to purchase the garage and also the Bank One operations, and then made the deal with the developer at that time. So the garage existed. So none of this money went toward the building of a garage.
Councilor Jackson.
Thank you, Madam President. This question's for administration, Mr. Chief Cook. Is there any other alternative to the recommendation you're proposing to the council tonight? I'd like you to answer that, as well as our CFO. Thank you.
Yeah, so the important thing I guess I'd point out about what is before you this evening is you're not actually voting on the refinancing itself. You're essentially affirming the city's ability to go do the refinancing. At the chairman's request, we were very clear in committee, and we wanted to be on the record about what our intentions were in terms of that refinancing proposal. And so, working with the chairman, frankly, we changed a lot of the aspects of what we had thought this refinancing would be, and that was due to feedback from CFO Brown, feedback from the chairman, and from other members of the committee and the council as a whole. So our intention in articulating this level of detail tonight is not because it's in the proposal, but because we feel an obligation to come before the council, especially in light of a lot of questions that have been raised about the origin of this deal, and be as transparent as we can about what we intend to do with council approval if we receive it, and specifically how we intend to not repeat some of the techniques that obviously have raised the ire of some on the council. The question as to whether there are alternatives, the MDC approval does give a lot of flexibility. It essentially says anything that's legal, the administration can use to try to refinance this. We've tried to narrow that so that you understand what you're really voting on this evening, and we're not asking for a blank check here. We're really asking for you to affirm our ability to enter into an agreement as we've articulated. And the one final thing I might say is just to reaffirm something the director said. We had a lot of very productive conversation at the committee level with a lot of great questions from Vice President Adamson and others. I know that this deal in many respects is, for many of you on the council, bigger than this deal. It's about some techniques and some financial transactions that took place before our time, and frankly before the time of many on the council. We've taken that to heart. We have an open offer that I think the chairman will take us up on to come back and give a more informational briefing when we have time. We'd be happy to go to other committees and do that as well, about the history of the CAC, some of its transactions. And I, for one, would like to thank Director Reardon, who, despite having no statutory oversight over the CAC, has really stepped in, has begun doing annual audits in a way that wasn't done in the past, has begun producing documents that are available to councilors and to the public writ large. And she has done yeoman's work on behalf of the administration in trying to give you a much more open book view at what's happened in the past, and then hopefully we'll have evenings like this where we can provide an opportunity to move forward in a way that the council is comfortable with.
I think that's important for it to go back to some of the committees, especially those financial committees, and give an explanation, some history and background and detail on the CAC. And one last question, if I may, before CFO responds, Madam President. Thank you for your indulgence. Is the city administration able to collect from any other third party, any other party, before we go to this route, to include that into the process?
Yes, so right now, of the revenues available, there are essentially three types of revenues available to us. It's what the city-county agencies are currently paying to park in the garage. It is downtown TIF revenue, and the public parking. Yeah, the public parking. A portion of that is reserved parking on the part of the artistry development to the tune of 600 spaces. There also are daily parkers. If you've driven by, you can see the sign. There's a daily rate. In consultation with council leadership, we've chosen to present to you a deal structure that would not continue the practice of having city-county agencies have to pay to park in a city-county-owned garage. But yes, there's frankly the majority of the funding will be coming from private sources first, and the public funds will be utilized only to the extent necessary.
CFO Brown.
Thank you, Madam President. Councilor, so I had a good conversation with both the bond bank about revenues from the garage and also OFM. I did ask the same question, what are the alternatives we can take to the council? I asked about the fund balance in several funds, including the downtown TIF, and going over those fund balances, it was not advisable to take any money out of that particular fund because the fund balances would fall below some of our committed fund balances from some of the projects. Also, we looked at garage revenue. I will say that there's about, I think, $3 million balance on some of the bank accounts from some of the garages that are going to be put toward this deal. So we are going to put some cash toward this. But at the end of the day, I thought the best, other than default, the best alternative was to give the DMD the flexibility to use garage revenues and TIF revenues, and again, free up budget for some of our agencies that are, can use a little bit of relief.
Councilor Simpson.
Thank you. If you want to hear the presentation of the CAT, she's going to be coming before us at Admin and Finance sometime next year. We first learned of it in a committee. We asked her what was all her difficulties, and the CAC was the first one. We just got the audit back. We requested an audit of that, and I think she's done a very thorough job. So we will be doing a presentation. I'll make sure the Madam Clerk will get notices out to everybody. So when she comes before us, you can either be at home or come to the meeting to ask more questions. But there's a deep concern about this issue. So, but we don't have too much choice in it, and we need to move. You know, it's one of them situations where you got to do something, and rather than short of bankrupting the city, we have to take some position. So I told her that I was in favor of trying to get this deal done because we have other options that are going on, situations going on. So thank you very much.
Additional comments? Chairman Osley.
Thank you, Madam President. So I want to thank the chief and the director. Let me then read the digest, and we will go from there. So proposal number 344 approves the issuance of special taxing districts, district bonds of the redevelopment district in an amount not to exceed $14 million for the purpose of refunding an installment purchase contract between the Department of Metropolitan Development and Market Square Garage Ops Partners, LLC, for the parking garage commonly known as the Bank One Garage, and approves transaction costs related thereto. Madam President, I know that this particular proposal has spread out over the last 15 minutes, so let me go back and repeat. Councilor Robinson moves, seconded by Councilor Kreider, to send this proposal to the full council with a due pass recommendation. This motion carried by a vote of 7-0. Madam President, I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Additional comments, questions from councilors? Seeing none, proceed to the board for our votes. The proposal carries 25-0. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 358, refer to Metropolitan and Economic Development Committee. Chairman Osley.
Thank you, Madam President. Proposal number 358 approves the amounts, locations, and programmatic operation of certain projects to be funded from Community Development Grant Funds. Jenny Foltz, Department of Metropolitan Development Administrator, presented a few key points. The 2018 action plan funds were awarded through open competitive processes that included applications for funding, requests for qualifications, and requests for proposals. All funding decisions were made by the city and community stakeholders. There was a 30-day response period. No public objections were raised during that time. Ms. Foltz was asked about the impact and how those impacts are measured. And Ms. Foltz stated that they have adopted the program standards for the continuum of care. So there are certain requirements which, for example, such as working to reduce the length of stay in emergency shelters to get people permanently housed. Councilor Adamson thanked Ms. Foltz for her thoroughness, and Councilor Adamson moved, seconded by Councilor Evans, to send proposal 358 to the full council with a due pass recommendation. And this motion carried by a vote of 7-0. Madam President, I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the board for our vote. The proposal carries 25-0. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 359, refer to Metropolitan and Economic Development Committee. Chairman Osley.
Thank you, Madam President. Proposal number 359 approves total expenditures of $1.282 million for calendar year 2018 from Community Revitalization Enhancement District funds, CREED funds, for various improvements benefiting the Lafayette Square CREED, also known as the International Marketplace. Mary Clark, the International Marketplace Coalition Executive Director, provided a few key points. Since January of this year, 36 small businesses have opened in Indy's International Marketplace and have invested more than $4 million to make improvements. Indy's International Marketplace is home to 80 ethnic restaurants, 40 different markets, and 800 ethnic businesses. More than $60 million in reinvestment are anticipated to come into Indy's international marketplace. The international marketplace will co-develop 2 mixed-use projects, and 3 additional projects will break ground in this coming year. The funds are anticipated to be broken out as according to the following: property improvement programs, $281,000 for facade and interior enhancement grants; 3 new bus shelters for $39,000 at 3 locations to support residents and patrons of the new developments; Moeller Road infrastructure improvements, $175,000, improving pedestrian safety and access to the future Eagle Branch Library project; small business and real estate technical assistance for small business training and coaching programs; the 3,500 co-development, $250,000 in pre-development funds, which will be recaptured through developer fees at project funding; the international marketplace branding initiative for $50,000; and IMC administration for staff at $233,000. Councilor Adamson stated he was fortunate. Councilor Adamson stated his support, and we were fortunate to have a program like the International Marketplace. And Councilor Evans moved, seconded by Councilor Adamson, to send this proposal to the full council with a due pass recommendation. And this motion carried by a vote of 7-0. Madam President, I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Seeing none, proceed to the board for our vote. The proposal carries 24-0. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 360, referred to Metropolitan Economic Development Committee. Chairman Osley.
Thank you, Madam President. Proposal number 360 approves a statement of benefits for Craftmark Bakery LLC, an applicant for tax abatement for property located in an economic revitalization area. Craftmark Bakery will invest $16.4 million via a revised property lease with its landlord for a 120,000 square foot building addition and $40 million for new manufacturing equipment for 2 new production lines to produce frozen bakery products. They will retain 278 employees and add 118 incremental employees by December 31st of 2020. The current average wage is $24.90 per hour. An additional space is reserved for the expansion for 2 additional lines. 278 employees, 210 live in Marion County, so 75% of the current employees. And of the 118 added incremental employees, there are 4 that are anticipated to have a base wage of $12 to $15 an hour, 86 at $15 to $20 an hour, and 28 at $20+ an hour. Councilor Evans stated his support about this project, and Councilor Adamson stated he was fortunate to have toured the facility and found it impressive, stating that he looked forward to supporting the proposal. Councilor Adamson moved, seconded by Councilor Kreider, to send proposal number 360 to the full council with a due pass recommendation, and that motion carried by a vote of 7-0. Madam President, I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Seeing none, proceed to the board for our vote. The proposal carries 24-0. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 361, refer to Metropolitan Economic Development Committee. Chairman.
Madam President, thank you. Proposal number 361 approves a statement of benefits for Federal Express Corporation, an applicant for a 10-year tax abatement for property located in an economic revitalization area. FedEx currently occupies 2.4 million square feet of facility And the estimated investment is $385 million in package sorting and logistics equipment between 2018 and 2026. Indianapolis is the second largest of their 11 hubs, and the increment in property tax base will be, in property tax base will be $154 million. The abatement currently paid, the abatement, the property taxes currently paid are $9.4 million. And after the development, there will be an additional $4.2 million. 805 full-time employees will be retained, and there will be 125 full-time employees to be hired. 2,940 part-time employees will be retained, and it's anticipated that 450 new part-time employees will be retained. In this particular hub, part-time is no less than 25 hours per week. Councilor Adamson moves, seconded by Councilor Kreider, to send proposal number 361 to the full council with a due pass recommendation. And the motion carried by a vote of 6 to 0 to 1 abstention, with Councilor Evans abstaining. Madam President, I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? We'll now proceed to the board for our vote. Councilor Feaster, did you have a question? I'm sorry.
I didn't have a question, I just had a comment. As a side note to Councilor Osley's report, I got a call from a gentleman with FedEx who is looking for 300 employees immediately for the 25 hours a week that was mentioned. So if anybody knows somebody that's looking for a job, call FedEx.
Thank you for sharing that, Councilor Feaster.
Madam President, if I may
Councilor-
add on to that, if that's all right?
Chairman Osley, I'm sorry, there's a couple conversations going on. Say it,
My
repeat your-
apologies. I wanted to follow up to Councilor Pfister's comments, and that is of those 300 new employees that they're looking for, that they actually do not have restrictions on background, on criminal background, for individuals that they were looking to hire.
Great.
So I want to make sure that that was clear.
Great.
Thank you.
Councilor Jackson, did you have a comment?
Madam Clerk says she take care of. I asked for a flyer to be distributed to all the council so we can send it out to our constituents.
Perfect. Madam Clerk, are you asking us to vote again to open the board back up?
I'm sorry.
Did
Said-
you clear the board because you want us to do the vote again?
No.
Did it, what
It's
was
done. You need the vote. Sorry.
The proposal carries 25 to 0. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 361, refer to Metropolitan Economic Development Committee. Chairman Osley.
Thank you, Madam President. Proposal number 362 approves a statement of benefits for Lifomic, Inc., an applicant for a 10-year tax abatement for property located in an economic revitalization area. Tim Cook and Jeff Swartz gave a brief presentation. This company founded in 2016, starting with 7 employees, plans to hire an additional 225 full-time positions by the end of 2022. 7 at $65 an hour and 225 at $75 an hour. This is anticipated to be a $16 million investment, and to increase the assessed value by $5.6 million. Over the course of the abatement, the savings for the company will be $765,000, but $1.05 million will be paid during the abatement period. And the new investment will increase the property taxes by $125,000 annually at the end of the abatement period. The planned jobs are in the areas of software and cloud architects, bioinformatics, genetics counselors, genetic scientists, software quality assurance, lab professionals, and IT product management. Councilor Adamson moves, seconded by Councilor Ray, to send proposal 362 to the full council with a due pass recommendation. And this motion carried by a vote of 6 to 0. Madam President, I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the board for our vote. Vice President. The proposal carries 23-0. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 365, refer to Municipal Corporation Committee. Chairman Gray.
Thank you, Madam President. Proposal number 365 was heard in the Municipal Corporation Committee, and it was presented by the CIB Board. What this does is, for several years now, the CIB has been telling us that they was going to pay some of these loans off. These are some of the initial investors that would first started off with some investments in the Circus City Mall. Then they took the money and put it into the new basketball arena. And now we're supposed to pay them all off by January. And this one company decided that rather than we pay them off, they would just extend the loan, which is good for the city because now they can, instead of depleting that part of the budget, they will still have money there in case of emergency or whatever. And this will end most of the payment to the from the CIB board on this particular note. So it passed the committee with a do-pass vote or 7-0, and I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Seeing none, proceed to the board for our vote. The proposal carries 25-0. The next item on our agenda is proposal number 385, refer to Public Works Committee. Vice President Adamson.
Thank you, Madam President. With consent, I'd like to take the next 10 proposals together. Thank you. On Thursday, December 14th, the Public Works Committee met and discussed proposals 385 through 394. Proposal 385 approves the intersection controls at Oakland and Nolan Avenue in District 17. Proposal number 386 authorizes a change in parking restrictions on Central Avenue from 34th Street to 11th Street in Districts 9, 11, and 17. Proposals 387 authorizes parking restrictions on 24th Street between Illinois and Meridian Streets in District 11. Proposal 388 authorizes intersection controls at Linton Lane and Thornley Drive in District 9. Proposal 389 authorizes parking restrictions on Park Avenue near East 23rd Street in District 11. Proposal 390 authorizes speed limit reduction to 25 miles per hour in the Trayburn Green, Trayburn Lake, and Trayburn Manor subdivisions in District 18. Proposal number 391 authorizes speed limit reduction to 25 miles per hour in the Washington Trail subdivision in District 19. Proposal number 392 authorizes intersection controls at Waldemar Road and 94th Street in District 1. Proposal 393 authorizes intersection controls at Gent Avenue and 19th Street in District 11. And proposal number 394 authorizes intersection controls at Boyd Avenue and Finley Avenue in District 21. Councilor Oliver moved, seconded by Councilor Scales, to send proposals 385 through 394 to the full council with a do-pass recommendation, and that motion carried by a vote of 8-0, and I so move.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Are there comments from councilors? Seeing none, proceed to the board for our vote.
Are we done yet?
The proposal's carried. The proposal, oh, yes, sir.
I'm sorry.
You can clear it. Yep, you're clear. The proposal's carried 25-0. The next item on our agenda is Special Service District Council. There is no business there. We'll proceed to new business. Seeing none, the next item on our agenda is announcements and adjournment. Councilor Feaster.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to take a point of personal privilege to wish everyone a Merry Christmas that is in this room and outside this room. Thank you so much for all that you do all year. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Thank you, Councilor Feaster. Councilor McQuillan. Oh, no, I'll take that back. The docket agenda of this meeting of the council having been completed, the chair will now entertain motions for adjournment.
Madam President.
Chair recognizes Councilor McQuillan.
Thank you, Madam President. I've been asked to offer the following motion for adjournment. By all counselors in memory of Jennings Scott Stone, Jr. By Counselor Feaster in memory of Martin Yoler. By Counselor Evans in memory of James O. Smith and Arthur L. Stout. By Counselor McQuillan in memory of Barbara A. Gilliatt, Christopher Everett Rechtenwall, Rose Ann Davidson, and Francis G. McAllister. And by Counselor Mascari in memory of Ted Pearson. Madam President, I would like to move the adjournment of this meeting of the Indianapolis City County Council in recognition of and respect for the life and contributions of those persons I have here specifically named. I respectfully ask the support of fellow councilors. I further request that the motion be made a part of the permanent records of this body, and that a letter bearing the council seal and the signature of the president be sent to the family of each person advising of this action.
Thank you, Councilor McQuillan. Hearing no objection, the motion is received and the requests are so ordered. Hearing no further motions, we are adjourned.
Let's hope.